Okay, I'm here with Molly Flatt from 1,000 Heads. We're going to go through a few questions today on a Q&A for the blog post. Hi Molly.
Hello.
How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good. So the first one is, at what point did you decide the career path you've chosen? And what drew you to what you're doing now?
God, I'm not sure I'm on a career path. Don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest. In some ways, it was complete happenstance. It was driven by my love of writing, actually. And so I started a blog. I loved writing. I had been acting for a few years and decided I want some more copywriting experience. So took a position with a company called 1,000 Heads as a copywriter and never left, which wasn't really the plan. But it was just such a great bunch of creative people, and I think it so sparked a passion in me for social media that was already burgeoning. But obviously it really indulged that and allowed me to really explore what social media could bring me personally and creatively as kind of a writer, as well as getting involved in the whole word of mouth scene. So yeah, I fell into it.
So what excites you about your day, and what excites you about social media in particular? Anything? All of it? None of it?
The personal connections. For me, end of the day, if you actually ask me what I've got out of social media, especially that I couldn't have got out of anything else, I think it's making connections with people that just wouldn't have been open to me before.
Is that personal and business?
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
Both. So through business, it almost being quite an old school way of just starting to get to know interesting people from what they're saying, not just from their reputation, but actually get a sense of who they are from social media. And I just think it's so empowering. So in terms of, your personal work, you can disseminate it so much easier, and I've just been able to hook up with people who like what I do, and there's something for me very liberating in that. From the acting world, it was all very much who you knew and what family you were part of and who your agent was, to suddenly now be judged on my actual output.
So do you think you've met people now that you wouldn't have met? You've met them because of social media?
Definitely.
Because it opened the doors to them.
Totally. And even, some of the paid journalism I do for things like The Guardian and Finch's Quarterly Review, there's no way those guys would have ever heard of me, or I would have had a way to hook up with them without social media. So, it's absolutely transformed certainly my career as well as my personal.
And are they more approachable because of it, do you think? Because they've had to open themselves up?
Yeah, I think that they're more approachable, and they see that they can find something a bit new and a bit different by using that. So.
But do you still come across, and do you think that people are fearful of what you do, what we all do? Do you think they're...
I think they are. I think the tools get in the way and the technology gets in the way. People don't think of social media as the outcome, the benefit being personal relationships. They think it's about money or about ad spend or about, which all of that kind of can come into it, or they think it's about really sophisticated, exciting future technologies a la Wired, which are exciting and sophisticated, but what's exciting in the way it's moving for me is that all that stuff's getting out the way more and more. The better and better technology takes the interface away so that the personal connections are even better.
Well, I suppose it's when people use Windows or something, they never care about how Word is written, do they? But I think they seem to get wrapped up in a little bit about what the mechanics of Twitter are, or what the mechanics of Flickr are, don't they?
Exactly, and I don't know if that's because it's come from kind of quite a developer startup background and the kind of open API model, and because people now are in charge of their own content. But these aren't hard tools to use. It's not the case that you have to become a techie to be part of social media. I am the world's least techie person, and I love...
Me and you both.
Exactly. So I think it's just almost some misplaced assumptions, and I think what people don't do often is just jump in there and play with it with passion themselves. So not look at it as a business person and go, right, how am I strategically going to use this? Start off by, creating their own profiles, finding out what they love, if it's fly fishing or motorbiking or cupcakes, and just playing in there and seeing what they can get out of it as a passionate individual, and then they'll get it. Then they'll get why other people are on there.
I totally agree with you. So I've seen you speak, and I've heard your words of wisdom before. If you could give somebody one piece of advice, what would that be with regard to social media? I think you probably just answered the question. Find something you've got passion and...
Stop talking about it, stop thinking about it, stop giving speeches about it. Just use it. it to do good stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, get it out of the way. Have an objective, have a creative idea, and go out and find the tools, but use them to do that. Focus on what you're going to do with it, not social media.
And once somebody's embraced it and they've kind of got themselves into it and involved in it, how much time would you recommend people spend in it? It's one of those questions I'm not sure there's really an answer, but
yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Business level,
yeah. If there was how much time a client wants to go and work on?
I think a lot more than they think, and often a lot more than they are. I think there's kind of.
Do you ever get asked the question?
It's more a question about resources, but that is time as well. So it's more a question about, is social media cheap, I suppose, or is word of mouth marketing cheap? And people tend to think it is. So they think this is the great new cheap answer to what we're going to do. And the truth is, absolutely not. As in, you have to put in an incredible amount of resource into listening, reacting in real time, putting in creative thought about how you can do something helpful and do something that gives someone a great experience, or just building a personal relationship. That takes time. People are used to seeing that as a drain on their time or not focused enough for a business, but you absolutely have to invest. I mean, it's got to be at least a couple of hours a day, but also dotted throughout the day. That's the problem. You can't go, I'm going to do my social media
9 till 9:30 is my social media, and there are 5 tweets and 1 Facebook post.
Exactly.
And a YouTube video.
Exactly. So I think it's almost it's a new way of thinking about time. And there's plenty of clever people writing amazing things out there about how our conception of time, both in business and personal ways, is being changed by social media. But it's kind of all pervasive. That doesn't mean you can't do other things and compartmentalise and focus on one thing at a time, which is something I've been learning to do much better recently, because I'm historically terrible at that. and want to look at the next tweet and answer every email and things. But it's being a lot more flexible, being a lot more nimble, not kind of sectioning it out, but being constant.